The grand hall of the Solarian starship shone with silver lights that reflected across its tall walls. The banners of the Solarian Empire hung proudly, showing the glowing crest that symbolized the royal family. Humans were still new to such places, and many alien eyes turned whenever a human walked by. Among them was a young officer named Rian. He had been chosen as part of the delegation to guard Princess Nira, the heir of the Solarian Empire. Rian walked with steady steps. His boots echoed against the metal floor, and his eyes were sharp as he studied every corner. The Solarian guards wore shining armor and carried advanced weapons, but Rian carried himself with a quiet confidence. He was not the tallest or the strongest, but his attention never wavered. Princess Nira walked in front of him, her robe flowing like water. Her crest, a glowing line across her back, shimmered whenever the lights touched it. The crest was a sign of royal blood and a target for anyone who wished her harm. Rian's eyes often rested on that glowing mark, watching its every movement. He had been trained to look for danger, and for him the princess's back was the most vulnerable spot. At first, Nira ignored him. She thought humans were strange and unrefined, always too serious and too curious. But day by day she noticed the same thing. Wherever she went, she could feel his gaze following her back. Whether she was walking through the council chambers, across the ship's bridges, or even in the gardens of the Star Palace, she could feel it. The human's eyes were always there. To the Solarians, staring was seen as disrespectful. Guards were trained to look outward, to face the world ahead, not to stare at their ruler. Yet this human seemed to break that rule again and again. Nira's pride began to rise. Was he mocking her? Was this a human habit, or was he hiding something? One evening, during a gathering of leaders, Nira finally reached her limit. The council chamber was full of voices as alien ambassadors discussed trade and treaties. Rian stood behind her as always, silent but watchful. His gaze once again settled on her glowing crest. Nira felt the heat of his eyes, and her tail twitched with irritation. She turned suddenly, her voice rising above the noise. "Why do you keep staring at my back, human?" she demanded. The chamber fell silent. Every voice stopped. Every head turned. The Solarian nobles widened their eyes, shocked that the princess had spoken so directly. The human officer froze, his posture stiff, but he did not lower his gaze. Rian's throat felt dry. He had faced danger before, but this was different. All the leaders of the Empire were watching him. He could feel the weight of their judgment. Yet he knew he had to speak the truth. Slowly he bowed his head with respect. "Your Highness," he said, his voice calm though his heart raced. "I stare because it is my duty. The mark upon your back is both your pride and your weakness. If anyone were to strike, they would strike there first. I cannot allow that." The nobles whispered to one another. Some smirked, thinking the human was clumsy with his words. Others frowned, ready to call his explanation an insult. But Nira studied him closely. His face held no mockery. His tone carried no arrogance. He was speaking with pure honesty. "You mean to say," Nira replied slowly, "that you stare because you fear for me?" Rian nodded once. "Yes, Princess. It may seem rude in your eyes, but to humans, watching is survival. Where I come from, one learns to study every movement, every sign, every weakness. Machines can be tricked, but eyes and instincts are harder to fool." Nira tilted her head, her crest glowing faintly. "Strange words. Do you not trust our guards and their weapons? Do you not trust our machines?" "I trust them," Rian said. "But I also know that enemies adapt. They will always look for what machines cannot see. That is why I must watch. If I am wrong, no harm is done. If I am right, your life is saved." For a long moment the chamber was quiet. Nira could feel the eyes of her council on her, waiting for her response. She thought about his words. She had grown up with layers of protection, shields, scanners, and loyal guards. Yet this human claimed his simple eyes and instincts were as valuable as all of that. It sounded almost foolish, but there was something in his tone that made her pause. Finally, Nira turned away, her robe sweeping behind her. She raised her chin and faced the council again. "Very well. Let the human guard in his strange way. If he fails, then he will answer to me. If he succeeds, then perhaps there is more to humans than we believed." The chamber returned to life, voices rising again as discussions continued. But Nira's mind was not on treaties anymore. She kept thinking of his words. A human's instinct stronger than machines. It was bold. It was unusual. Yet for some reason she did not feel insulted. Instead, she felt curious. That night, As she walked back to her private quarters, Ryan followed a few steps behind her as always. She did not speak, but she could sense his focus. She wondered if he truly saw something others could not. The glowing crest on her back was a symbol of her family's power, but for the first time she began to see it through his eyes, as a target. A weak point, something worth protecting. Ryan did not know what she was thinking. To him, it was simple. His duty was to guard her life no matter the cost. If that meant being misunderstood, then so be it. Humans had always been misunderstood by the greater galaxy. This was nothing new, but deep inside he felt something shift. The way she had demanded an answer, the way she had looked at him with sharp eyes, it told him she was not just a ruler to be guarded. She was someone who might one day understand what humans truly were. That thought gave him a strange sense of pride. The stars outside the windows shone bright as the Silurian ship moved across the galaxy. Inside, a human and a princess began a bond neither of them expected. One asked questions, the other gave answers, and both began to see the world in a new way. The first step of their journey had been taken, and neither of them would forget the moment when the princess demanded, "Why do you keep staring at my back, human?" The morning after the council meeting, the palace ship floated quietly through the star lanes. Silurian nobles were still whispering about the princess's public question and the human's bold answer. Many called it foolish, some called it brave, but no one forgot the scene. Princess Nira, however, had not spoken a word since then. She carried herself with her usual grace, her crest glowing faintly as she walked through the halls. Yet her thoughts kept returning to the human behind her, the way he had stood without fear, the way he had spoken without trembling, and the way he had looked at her crest with such focus. It was unusual, it was unsettling, and it was interesting. Ryan walked a steady pace behind her as if nothing had changed. His eyes, sharp as ever, scanned her back in the shadows of every hall. To him, this was not strange. To him, it was survival. Humans had grown on a world full of dangers. To live, they had learned to watch and read signs that others might miss. He was doing what came naturally, but he knew the princess still thought about it. At last, she stopped in the middle of the long crystal corridor. The walls glowed with soft light, and two Silurian guards stood at attention nearby. She turned, her eyes fixed on the human. "Come forward, Ryan," she said. He stepped closer, keeping his posture straight. "You spoke yesterday before the council," she said. "Your words were bold." Many laughed. "But I could see you were not lying. Tell me, human, why do you trust your own eyes more than the machines of our empire? Do you truly believe instinct is stronger than technology?" Ryan bowed his head slightly. "Princess, I believe both are important, but machines can be blinded. A jammer, a false signal, a clever trick, and they fail. A human who has trained his eyes and mind is harder to fool. We notice what is out of place. We notice what others overlook." Nira folded her arms. "You make it sound as if humans are special." Ryan shook his head. "Not special, Princess. Just different. Our world forced us to adapt. We had to survive storms, predators, and one another. We learned to see small signs, a change in the wind, a broken branch, the twitch of a hand before it strikes. That is why I watch your crest. It is a mark of pride, but to me it is also a mark that an enemy will aim for. If I study it, I will know the moment something is wrong." The princess tilted her head, her crest glowing brighter as if in thought. "So you stare not because of disrespect, but because of protection?" "Yes, Princess," Ryan said. "If I must offend to keep you safe, then I will accept your anger. Better to face your wrath than to fail my duty." The guards beside them shifted slightly, surprised by his courage. Nira looked at him for a long moment, her golden eyes searching his face. She saw no pride, no arrogance, only honesty. Finally, she turned away with a faint smile. "You are either very brave or very foolish, human," she said softly. "Perhaps both." From that day forward, Nira began to test him. She moved through the palace halls at odd hours, taking sudden turns, changing her pace, stopping without warning. Each time, Ryan adjusted without hesitation. His eyes never left her back, and his attention never faltered. It was as if his entire being was focused on that glowing crest. One afternoon, Nira decided to ask more. She invited him into one of the smaller chambers, a place filled with ancient Silurian paintings. The room was quiet, and the light from the stars shone through tall windows. She sat on a chair carved from crystal and gestured for him to stand before her. "Tell me, Ryan," she said, "what do you humans see when you look at us?" Do you see rulers or do you see weaknesses? Ryan thought for a moment before answering. I see both, Princess. Every being has strength and every being has weakness. Your people are strong with wisdom and technology, but strength can blind and weakness can hide. Humans are used to being weaker, so we notice what the strong overlook. That is our way. Nira raised an eyebrow. You speak as if weakness is a gift. It can be, Ryan said. Weakness forces us to be clever. It forces us to prepare. That is why humans survive even when we should not. We adapt, we notice, and we endure. His words lingered in the air. Nira leaned back in her chair, considering them. No one in her court had ever spoken to her like this. Her guards were loyal. Her counsel was respectful, but their words were filled with formality and fear. The human spoke simply, directly, as if he had nothing to prove and nothing to hide. It was strange. It was refreshing. Perhaps I will test your instincts further, she said. Tomorrow we travel to the trade station of Arthas. It is a place of noise and shadows, full of merchants and spies. Many there do not love the Silurian Empire. If your eyes are as sharp as you claim, I will know. Ryan bowed. As you wish, Princess. The next day, the royal ship arrived at the vast station. Its halls were crowded with species from every corner of the galaxy. Merchants shouted their offers. Lights flashed from hundreds of stalls, and the air was filled with the scent of strange foods and burning fuel. Nira walked proudly, her robe flowing behind her, her crest glowing like a beacon. Her Silurian guards kept close, scanning the crowd with their devices. But Ryan relied on nothing but his eyes. He watched the flow of movement, the rhythm of the crowd. He studied shadows and reflections in glass. He looked for small details, the kind most would ignore, a hand reaching too quickly into a pocket, a head turning just a little too often, a step that did not match the pace of the rest. Nira glanced back at him once, curious. His gaze was fixed, not on her now, but on the crowd around her. He moved with careful purpose, guiding himself behind her with silent steps. She realized then that his words were true. He was not staring because of disrespect. He was watching because he had learned to live in a dangerous world. For the first time, Nira felt a spark of trust. Perhaps this human was not like the others she had dismissed before. Perhaps his people carried something the galaxy had overlooked. When they returned to the ship, Nira spoke quietly to him. You are different, Ryan. I see now that your eyes do not lie. But tell me one more thing. Do you not fear that you will fail one day? That your eyes will miss something? Ryan looked at her with calm resolve. Of course I fear that, Princess. Fear is part of being human. But fear does not stop us. It sharpens us. I do not promise perfection. I promise only that as long as I stand behind you, I will never stop trying. Nira held his gaze for a long moment, then turned away with a small nod. She did not say it aloud, but she felt safer than she had in years, and she knew now that the human's strange habit of staring was not a weakness but a strength. The station of Arthas glowed with countless lights as ships arrived and departed every hour. It was a hub where traders, diplomats, and spies moved together in a noisy sea of voices. Princess Nira walked through its central plaza with her guards close behind. Her crest shone brightly under the artificial lamps, making her presence impossible to ignore. To many it was a mark of honor. To others it was a target. Ryan stayed a step behind her, calm and silent. His eyes never rested on one thing for too long. He studied every figure that passed, every shadow that shifted, every movement in the corners of the plaza. He could feel something in the air, a quiet tension under the noise of the market. The way some faces turned too quickly, the way others looked away when his eyes met theirs, it was the kind of tension that told him danger was close. Nira noticed his sharp focus. She kept walking, pretending not to see, but inside she was curious. Could this human truly sense what her scanners could not? Her Silurian guards carried the latest detection devices, each one designed to catch hidden weapons or cloaked enemies. Yet Ryan carried nothing but his awareness. They passed through the marketplace where stalls overflowed with strange goods. Glowing minerals, fruits from distant worlds, and fabrics that shimmered like liquid. Voices rose and fell in a dozen languages, merchants calling to customers, bargaining, laughing. But beneath the color and noise, Ryan's eyes caught something else. A shadow moved against the flow of the crowd, keeping too close, too steady. His hand twitched toward his side instinctively, though he carried no heavy weapon. He breathed slowly, calming his nerves. He had seen this before. In the past, on Earth, men with intent to harm often followed with patience, waiting for the right moment. It was the same here across the stars. The galaxy might look different, but danger had the same rhythm everywhere. Suddenly, the lights in one corner of the plaza flickered. It was small, almost invisible among the chaos, but to Ryan it was enough. He shifted his position, stepping closer behind Nira, his eyes scanning the direction of the flicker. In the next heartbeat, he caught it, a figure cloaked in bending light moving with unnatural grace. The scanners of the Solarian guards gave no signal, but Ryan's instinct screamed. "Down!" he shouted. Before Nira could react, Ryan moved. He pushed her slightly to the side, placing himself between her and the attacker. A flash of steel-like energy broke from the cloaked figure's hand, aimed exactly where her crest would have been. The Solarian guards were a second too late, their scanners still searching for a signal. But Ryan had already lunged. His arm blocked the strike, sparks flying as the energy cut through his protective sleeve. With a growl of effort, he grabbed the attacker's wrist and pulled. The cloaking shimmer broke, revealing a lean alien with sharp eyes and a blade made of light. The crowd gasped and scattered. Nira's guards raised their weapons, but the attacker was too close. Ryan held him off with raw strength, his grip unshaking despite the pain burning in his arm. The assassin hissed in anger, twisting with sudden speed. Ryan ducked just in time, pulling Nira behind him. His body became a shield, his eyes locked on every twitch of the assassin's movement. He had no advanced training in Solarian martial arts, but he knew how to read intent. Each flicker of muscle, each shift of weight, he could see the strike before it came. The assassin struck again, blade cutting through the air. Ryan caught the attack with both hands, twisting the wrist until the blade fell to the ground with a sharp crack. He kicked the weapon away and slammed the attacker into the floor. The guards rushed forward at last, capturing the alien with chains of energy. The plaza filled with shocked voices. Merchants shouted, guards barked orders, and the crowd buzzed with fear. But Princess Nira stood tall, her crest glowing bright with anger and relief. She turned her head slowly to the human who still stood ready, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. "You saw what no one else did," she said, her voice low but clear. Ryan bowed slightly, his arm bleeding from the cut of the blade. "It was not the scanners that warned me, Princess. It was the movement, the shadow, the silence. Those things cannot be hidden." Nira stared at him, her mind replaying the moment. The assassin had aimed for her crest, just as Ryan had said they would. The human had placed himself between her and the strike without hesitation. No Solarian guard had reacted in time. If not for the human's strange habit of watching so closely, she might have fallen in the plaza of Arthas. Her guards tried to lead her away, but she raised her hand to stop them. She walked closer to Ryan, her eyes fixed on him. "Your people are underestimated, human. Today you have proven that instinct can be sharper than a blade." Ryan bowed again, hiding the sting of pain in his arm. "I only did my duty, Princess. My eyes are yours as long as I stand behind you." The assassin was dragged away and the crowd slowly calmed. But the story spread quickly. Whispers moved through the station, then through the ships that docked there, and then across the stars. The tale of the human guard who saw what machines could not, who moved faster than scanners, became known. That night, Nira called Ryan to her private chamber. The room glowed softly with crystal lights, and the stars stretched endlessly outside the wide windows. She studied him as he entered, his arm now wrapped in clean bandages. He stood tall despite the pain, his eyes calm as always. "You could have been killed today," she said quietly. "Yes," Ryan replied, "but if it saved you, then it was worth it." Nira's eyes softened, though her voice remained steady. "Tell me, human, is this how all of your kind think? That it is better to risk death than to turn away?" Ryan shook his head. "Not all. But many of us learn that life is fragile. We do not have strong armor like some species. We do not have natural weapons or glowing crests. We have only our minds, our eyes, and our will. That is why we endure." Silence filled the chamber for a moment. Nira looked out the window at the stars. For the first time, she wondered if humanity's place in the galaxy was not small as others claimed, but something far greater. Perhaps their weakness was also their strength. When she turned back to him, her voice carried a new tone. Not just curiosity, but respect. "You have earned more than my attention, Ryan. You have earned my trust. From this day I will not question why you stare at my back. I will accept it. For now I know what it means." Ryan bowed deeply. "Then I will never fail you, Princess." The stars burned brightly beyond the glass, and the bond between the human and the princess grew stronger that night. The galaxy did not yet understand it, but something had changed. A single act in a crowded station had begun to rewrite the way a royal princess looked at the human race. And though Nira did not say it aloud, she felt safer knowing that behind her, there were human eyes that never stopped watching. Days passed after the events at the Arthas station, yet Princess Nira could not stop thinking about the human who had saved her life. Every time she walked through the palace corridors, she felt a strange sense of safety, knowing Ryan followed behind her, his eyes scanning every corner, every shadow. The Silurian nobles whispered about her growing trust in a human, and some tried to warn her. Yet Nira ignored them. There was something in Ryan's calm focus that could not be dismissed. Ryan, for his part, treated his duty as he always had. He was behind her, watching, noticing. But over time, a subtle change came. He began to understand the princess, not just her movements, but her moods. He noticed when she was tense, when she was curious, or when she was troubled by something small that no one else would see. It was a skill humans had honed over centuries, observing details, reading expressions, predicting behavior. One evening, Nira invited him to join her in the palace garden. The garden was alive with glowing flora and shimmering water fountains. Alien birds sang strange melodies, and the air smelled sweet with flowers from distant planets. Nira walked slowly, letting her robe brush against the soft grass. "Ryan," she began, her voice calm, "yesterday I watched you during the council meeting. You noticed things no one else did. I want to understand how humans see the world. Tell me, what makes your kind survive in such a dangerous galaxy?" Ryan paused, his eyes following the glow of the plants before he spoke. "Princess, humans are not the strongest or the fastest. We do not have shields that cover us from everything or weapons that strike without effort. But we notice what others ignore. We prepare, we adapt, we endure. Weakness makes us watchful. It makes us clever. That is why we survive." Nira looked thoughtful. "So your weakness is your strength?" "Yes, Princess. And your strength is what most others fear, but even the strongest can be blind. That is why I watch your back." The princess smiled faintly, a gesture rare for her. "I never thought of it like that. I always believed that strength alone was enough. But you have shown me that even a princess must sometimes rely on something less obvious." Ryan inclined his head respectfully. "I serve, Princess. My duty is simple, to protect you. How I do it is my choice." Nira's eyes softened, and for the first time she allowed herself to walk without the tension of formality. Ryan followed silently, but she could sense his presence, and it brought her comfort. She realized that this human had become more than just a guard. He was someone she could rely on when others failed. Over the next week, Nira began testing Ryan in subtle ways. She would move through the palace at odd hours, pause suddenly, or take unexpected turns. Each time Ryan reacted with precision, staying close but not obstructing her path. He adjusted his steps to hers, always anticipating, always ready. She began to enjoy the challenge. His calm confidence fascinated her. One afternoon, she asked him a question she had been considering for days. "Ryan, why do humans trust instinct more than tools? You have saved me when scanners and weapons failed. Why is that?" Ryan thought carefully before answering. "Princess, machines are only as smart as the people who design them. They follow rules and patterns. But danger is rarely polite. It does not announce itself. Instinct allows humans to notice irregularities, to see the things that are missing or out of place. That is why I watch, why I move, why I protect. Machines are useful, but our minds and eyes are sharper in ways that cannot be replaced." Nira nodded slowly, her mind absorbing his words. She had always believed in technology, in training, and in the loyalty of her guards. Yet Ryan had demonstrated something different. His human way of protection was subtle, personal, and deeply effective. As the days went on, the bond between them grew. Nira allowed Ryan to walk directly behind her without suspicion, even in public places. She began to notice small things about him too. How he observed not only her but the people around them. How he remained calm under pressure, and how he seemed to understand danger before it arrived. The other nobles were not pleased. Some whispered that it was improper for a princess to place such trust in a human. Others suggested it showed weakness. Nira ignored them. She had seen the proof of his skill. She had experienced the moment when he had saved her life. That was worth more than any gossip or protocol. One evening, Nira invited Ryan to walk with her on the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly in every direction, and the lights of distant planets glimmered like jewels. She walked beside him, her crest glowing faintly. "Ryan," she said softly, "your people are underestimated. No one believes humans could see and act the way you do. Yet I have seen it. You are different." Ryan shook his head humbly. "I am not different, Princess. My people have survived for generations because we adapt, we endure. I only do what comes naturally." Nira looked at him carefully, her eyes reflecting the stars. "It is more than natural. It is skill. And it is loyalty. I trust you because I have to, yes, but also because you deserve it." He bowed slightly, understanding the weight of her words. "Thank you, Princess. I will continue to earn that trust every day." That night, as Nira retired to her chambers, she felt a strange sense of peace. For the first time in her life, she did not feel the weight of constant vigilance pressing down on her. Ryan's presence behind her was a shield, but it was more than that. It was a promise. A promise that someone was watching, caring, and ready to act without hesitation. The following days brought small tests. Nira asked Ryan to observe her meetings, to watch for signs of hidden threats, and to accompany her to public events. Each time he performed with patience and skill. He noticed subtle changes in tone, shifts in posture, and hidden signals that others missed. Slowly, she began to see humans in a new light. They were not primitive or weak. They were observers, thinkers, and survivors. One afternoon, while walking in the palace garden, Nira stopped and faced him directly. "Ryan, do you not tire of this constant vigilance? To always watch, to always anticipate?" Ryan smiled faintly. "No, Princess. It is a duty, yes, but also a purpose. My eyes have meaning because they serve you. That is enough." Nira studied him quietly. There was honesty in his words, and she realized that the human's vigilance was not just about duty. It was about care, respect, and perhaps something more. She had never considered the idea that trust could be built through attention and protection. Yet here it was, embodied in the form of a single human guard. As the sun set over the distant horizon, bathing the palace in soft golden light, Nira felt a connection to Ryan that went beyond duty. She did not fully understand it, but she knew that she could rely on him in ways she had never relied on anyone before. The bond they shared was unspoken, built on moments of observation, protection, and quiet understanding. That evening, as they returned to the palace, Nira spoke softly. "You are not like the others, Ryan, I see it now. And I am glad you are here." Ryan nodded humbly, his eyes reflecting both determination and respect. "I am honored, Princess. As long as I stand behind you, no harm will reach you." For the first time, Nira did not question it. She walked confidently, her crest glowing, knowing that behind her, the human who had once been a stranger was now a constant shield, a companion, and a silent protector. The bond had been forged not by words or ceremony, but by trust, observation, and shared moments of danger. And as the stars shimmered above the palace, both human and princess understood that their connection had grown into something far stronger than duty alone. The peace summit was set on the neutral planet of Viralia, a bright world with endless oceans and vast cities built from shining crystal. Leaders from dozens of star empires had gathered to discuss trade agreements, alliances, and the prevention of future wars. Princess Nira arrived with her entourage, including her Solarian guards and, as always, the human who had earned her trust, Ryan. Ryan walked a few steps behind her, his eyes scanning every face, every shadow, every detail. He had learned over the past weeks to read the subtle rhythms of crowds and the smallest changes in posture. The human instinct that had once seemed unusual to the princess had now proven invaluable. Inside the main hall, representatives from distant planets spoke loudly, debating terms, shaking hands, and signing documents. The air was filled with tension. Some delegations had reason to dislike the Solarians, and some envoys moved with hidden intent. Ryan noticed them all, a slight twitch in a finger, the direction of an eye glance, the angle of a wrist. These were details invisible to machines, yet clear to his trained human eyes. Princess Nira moved confidently through the room, her crest glowing brightly. Despite the crowd and the high stakes, she felt a sense of calm. Behind her, Ryan's presence reassured her. She did not need to look back. She trusted that he would see what others could not. The summit continued smoothly for a time, but Ryan sensed a shift. From the corner of the room, a figure approached, moving against the flow of delegates. Its cloak shimmered, blending almost perfectly with the polished floor. Sensors should have detected it, but they did not. Ryan's instincts screamed, He noticed the slight hesitation in its steps, the way it adjusted its cloak to hide a concealed device. "Princess," he murmured softly, his hand brushing her robe to get her attention. "Stay close." Nira looked at him, her golden eyes steady. "I am ready," she said calmly. She did not need to move. She trusted him completely. The figure struck suddenly, aiming directly for her glowing crest. In that instant, Ryan reacted. He stepped behind Nira, placing himself as a shield. The attack came as a flash of energy from the concealed device, but Ryan had anticipated it. He twisted his body, catching the force and redirecting it away from the princess. Sparks flew, lighting the room in brief, sharp flashes. The delegates gasped and froze, unsure of what had just happened. The Solorian guards rushed forward, but Ryan's eyes never left the attacker. He moved with precise timing, using human instincts honed through observation and experience. He grabbed the device, twisting it from the attacker's grasp and tossing it aside. Then he pressed forward, neutralizing the threat with strength and speed. The cloaked figure fell to the floor, restrained by Ryan until the guards could secure them. The hall erupted in murmurs and whispers. No Solorian weapon had fired. No sensor had triggered an alert. Yet the human had seen, acted, and saved the princess once again. Princess Nira's eyes shone as she turned toward him. "Ryan," she said softly, almost in awe. "How do you always see it before it happens?" Ryan bowed slightly, breathing heavily from the exertion. "Princess, I watch, I notice. I read the movement, the space, the intention. Machines cannot always see the invisible. Humans can." Nira took a step closer to him. "And you do this every time, even when it is dangerous for you?" "Yes, Princess. My life is mine to give if it means yours is protected." Her crest glowed brighter in response, and a rare smile curved her lips. "You are more than a guard, Ryan. You are extraordinary. I cannot thank you enough, but I will trust you with my life always." Ryan bowed his head humbly. "I will never fail you, Princess." The incident at the summit spread across the galaxy faster than any official report. Stories of the human who saw what others could not, who acted when machines failed, and who protected the Princess of Solorians, reached distant planets. Diplomats began to speak of humanity with respect. The species that had once been dismissed as weak and primitive was now seen as clever, observant, and capable of courage unlike any other. That night, Princess Nira called Ryan to her private quarters. The room overlooked the planet's glowing oceans and the stars reflected on the crystal floor. She gestured for him to sit across from her. "Ryan," she said, her voice calm but carrying weight. "I must ask again. Why do you keep staring at my back?" Ryan looked at her, his eyes steady and sincere. "Princess, I do not stare out of curiosity or disrespect. I watch because your back is where danger comes first. I watch because I must be ready. And I watch because as long as I see you, no one can strike from the shadows without me noticing." Nira studied him quietly, her crest dimming slightly as she reflected. She had seen the truth of his words in action. She had felt the strength of his protection when threats appeared where no one else expected. She had come to trust him completely. "You do not fear for yourself?" she asked softly. Ryan shook his head. "Fear is natural, Princess, but duty is stronger. I will act before thinking of my own safety. That is what humans do." "That is what I do." Nira nodded, her golden eyes shining with respect and gratitude. "Then I understand now. I see why you always watch, and I am grateful. As long as you are behind me, I am safe, and that is enough." The princess leaned back, feeling a sense of calm she had never known in her life. She realized that humans, though small in numbers and seemingly weak, carried an extraordinary power. It was not weapons. It was not shields. It was not even technology. It was the ability to notice, to adapt, and to endure. Ryan's eyes remained on her, quiet but attentive. He did not boast or demand praise. He only waited, ready to act if danger ever approached. Nira felt a deep trust forming, one that went beyond protocol or formal duty. It was a bond forged in understanding, respect, and shared experience. As the stars reflected in the crystal walls of her chamber, Nira spoke one final time. "Ryan, I will never question why you watch me. I understand now, and I will trust you completely." Ryan bowed, a faint smile on his face. "Thank you, Princess. I will never stop watching. As long as I stand behind you, no harm will reach you." And with that, the human and the princess understood each other completely. The galaxy would take time to recognize humanity's unique strength. But for Nira, it was already clear. Humans were not weak. They were clever, observant, and brave. They could survive where others would fail. The bond between Princess Nira and Rian became a legend among the Silurians. She never walked alone, and he never failed in his duty. And when she looked back at him, she no longer saw a mere human guard. She saw a protector, a companion, and a symbol of a species that had proven itself capable of extraordinary courage. Finally, as the stars shone over the Veralia ocean, the princess asked quietly, almost to herself, "Why do you keep staring at my back, human?" Ryan's voice was calm and steady, full of quiet determination. "Because as long as I watch your back, princess, no one can strike you from the shadows. And no one ever will." Nira smiled, a sense of relief and respect filling her heart. The galaxy would soon learn that humans were not to be underestimated. But for now, she knew the truth. And she knew she could walk safely into any future, as long as the human who had once seemed so curious continued to watch her back. The stars stretched endlessly above, and in their light, a bond of trust and courage shone brighter than any crest.